This video is for you if you resonate with the following. So you worry about making a mistake. There's some sort of fear associated with making a mistake. When you have made a mistake, you have a difficult time forgetting about it. You lose focus on the game and you keep replaying it over and over again in your mind. When you're thinking about mistakes, you worry about the bad reaction you'll get from the coach, from your teammates, from the fans, from other people. Right? You find yourself playing it safe and you're not making that key pass you know you can. You're not attempting to take on someone one-on-one because you worry about the, again, bad reaction that might come from if you lose the ball, if you pass it to the opponent, right? So I'll take you through a very powerful process that I use with my clients. So I use a client case where I share my whole process. I'm sharing why I'm doing it, and it's probably a lot more different to what you're used to in terms of if you have done this kind of work before. So this is a client who came to me when he was like 21 years old. He plays first men's football and he was the youngest. And he came to me because like he found himself playing it safe. He was so worried about making mistakes, it drained his confidence. And when he made a mistake, he had such a hard time letting it go. And it led to him not performing to his best of his abilities. He knew he had the potential to more, but he could just not let go of this fear. So I asked him, how does it make, like when you pass the ball to an opponent or you lose the ball, whatever, how does it make you feel? And I was like, I feel like I really fucked up here, I made a mistake. Okay, that tells me about the world he lives in, that he can make a mistake. I'm gonna elaborate on that later. So what I'm curious about, like when there's worry, fear associated with something like making a mistake, it tells me that, well, something is going on here. That something has happened in the past that has created this association of fear to making a mistake. Right? So I asked him, so do you remember a time where you made a mistake and the reaction you got from your surroundings were really uncomfortable, really intense? And he shared when he was like 17 years old, again being the youngest on the team, he did something. I can't remember what it was. It was insignificant, but nonetheless there was this 33-year-old player, twice his age, who screamed at him. That experience was so uncomfortable that from that day he was afraid of making a mistake, right? So he had carried that experience with him because it's been so uncomfortable. He carried that with him to this day. Not today, but to the day that we spoke. So that's like 3 or 4 years he's been living in that world of, oh, I can make a mistake, I hope I don't fuck up. And many, if not everyone, can relate to this to some extent. So what I then did was, okay, so you felt like you made a mistake. And I get that. I think we all do. But did he say that you made a mistake? I said, no. Okay. And can you show me any mistakes? Like, can you show me out in the world a mistake? No, he couldn't, right? So I asked him, so where does mistakes exist? In the mind. Okay. So he started realizing in this conversation that, well, he had lived in the world of I can make a mistake, right? And I know we all talk about mistakes. Also within the game of football, passing into the opponent or losing the ball is a mistake. It's often seen as a mistake, and it's not a problem to talk about it, but most people associate mistakes with some sort of fear. And when I use fear is on a sliding scale from mild worry to panic attacks. So we associate making a mistake with fear. So it's uncomfortable making a mistake. It's uncomfortable making a mistake. Yeah. So I said to him, like, if it exists in the mind, it's not out there. It's not a truth you made a mistake. It was something you created, an idea you created in your mind. You created the idea that you can make a mistake, which is not true, right? Because out in the world, there is no mistakes. There is actions and consequences. And some of the consequences we might deem as negative or positive, but it's just a consequence of an action. So you doing what you did wasn't a mistake, but there was a consequence to it. Apparently, you lost the ball and some guy screamed at you. That doesn't mean you did anything wrong, right? Me saying that, I'm pointing to that he's very powerful, that he's not a victim of his circumstances. It wasn't that older player who made him feel like he did something wrong, it was himself. No blaming him unconsciously to himself, but it was him creating the idea and start living in that world. I can make a mistake and it's bad. So through this process, he starts seeing how powerful he is. He's not a victim of his circumstances, of other people, what they're saying. He's a victim of his own thoughts. Well, not a victim, but he is so powerful he can create the idea that he did something wrong, which he didn't. He is so powerful that he can create a world of I can do something wrong and live inside of that for years. So I said to him, like, if I were to cut you open, would I find a physical label? Now I'm just saying some random name because no one should identify who it is. Bob, born in Austria, can make a mistake. And he said no. And why is that? Because it's made of thought. Yeah. And what are thoughts? It's a conversation in the mind. Thoughts are a conversation in the mind. I can make a mistake. It's a conversation within the mind, within this container. Right? So if it's not real, if it's a conversation in the mind, there's no physical label, right? Which means you cannot do anything wrong. In the absence of you can do anything wrong, how would you feel? And he said, like, I would feel confident, free, unlimited. Yeah. That is your true nature. In the absence of the limitations you have put on yourself, that's how you feel, because that's your true nature. That was a 60-minute conversation we had. Dissolving the root cause of the fear and helping him see his true nature. From that day, I'm not saying that he never felt any lack of confidence or fear anymore, but from his own feedback is still, yeah, this is a year later, like he plays with so much confidence, freedom and joy. He performs so well. Like he's not worrying about making mistakes. When he makes a mistake, he doesn't lose focus. It's easy for him to, I'm not saying he never loses focus, but it's easy to get his head back into the game. Right? So this is the process. So this is one case, the process I use with clients who, in this case, lives in the world if I can make a mistake. And it's so powerful when it's done the right way, because it removes the root cause of how we feel to this day. We dissolve the lie he was living in, which means that the fear he felt this day disappears. I hope this made sense. I hope you can see this in your own life, that something is coming up for you, that you investigate with me in this video. You investigate and you start seeing something that might be the root cause of, like, if you're playing safe, if you feel worry and fear associated with making a mistake.